about crazies in the past, mafia in the past versus the current global mafia. And then let's get into why I'm seeing articles all over the place, mainstream and alternative, saying Fukushima, the worst is yet to come. And then tell us if that's true or not.
Yes, right. Well, what market forces and the kind of concentration of the global mafia has been able to do is to produce such an enormously powerful military and nuclear-orientated structure that it's possible to choose scientists and to pay those scientists that you want to tell you the things that you want to hear, or to tell you the things that enable you to continue with the operation that's making you lots of money and acquiring lots of power. Now, of course, you can step back from that, and I have a number of times tried to understand what it is that makes certain people want to be powerful and rich, what kind of insecurities there are. And certainly we see throughout history people like, well, if you like, Hitler, insecure people who become powerful because of their insecurity. And terrible things can happen because then they can acquire around themselves other people like themselves, and they can pay those people, and then you end up with a situation which is monolithic and virtually impossible to deal with, and terrible things happen. But what we have now is something that is almost universal and global, and the situation, because of the sheer magnitude of the problem, the level of radionuclide emissions into the environment from all sorts of sources, from the depleted uranium, from the new super weapons that use uranium, from the endless leaking of these nuclear power stations, which have just continued and are getting worse because as the nuclear power stations themselves are getting old. All of these things have conspired together to increase the concentration of radionuclides in the environment to a level where it is now threatening life on Earth. There's no question that it is reducing fertility, that it is increasing cancer, and the future looks really quite bleak. And particularly it looks bleak because of what I can now go on to. You asked me to look at this Fukushima situation.
But what you say so eloquently is what Eisenhower, in his farewell address, warned about. He said, the military-industrial complex has been seized by corporate interest, and it itself is then seizing the entire scientific complex to where they will be unopposable. And now they've hired all these mercenary scientists that will go along with anything. And it does seem like the madness of Nero or something.
It's not. It's even worse, because not only do they acquire scientists by paying them money in order to provide bogus scientific reports that support their position, but anyone who happens to stand up and say something which they don't like, or find something which goes against their crazy worldview, this person gets swiftly dealt with. I mean, I can name names. There was a young scientist in Sweden called Martin Tondell who discovered that there was a significant increase in cancer in the northern Sweden after the very small amounts of radioactivity conventionally expressed that fell in northern Sweden after the Chernobyl accident. Now, he was swiftly dealt with by his boss. His boss is a chap called Lars Erik Holm, who was the ex-head of the International Commission on Radiological Protection, and is now, would you believe, can you imagine, the medical officer of health for Sweden.
Wow.
So if you want to know what's happening in Sweden in terms of health, you go to Lars Erik Holm, who is the ex-head of the International Commission on Radiological Protection.
Well, that's like Obama is putting Cass Sunstein, the regulations are that said it was okay to spy on people without warrants, on the NSA Blue Ribbon Board to investigate the NSA.
Yes, yes. Well, of course, we can find many situations in which this sort of thing happens.
Monsanto.
It's a sort of third world war, isn't it? It's the governments versus the people. It's truly extraordinary.